his shoulder. He counted on luck and the grapevine of road companions to find work and sustenance. His Wanderschaft had begun months before in his hometown of Selb, a small factory town in Franconia. Following a lead, he had landed in Wiesbaden, the elegant and ancient spa city known from Roman times for its healing waters. Orchards and vineyards surrounded the city, and jagged, crumbling ruins of castles dotted the banks up and down the mighty Rhine River, hence its full name, Wiesbaden am Rhein. Albin knew that the freedom and adventure of his travels were but an interlude before settling down, starting his own carpentry business, and looking for a thrifty wife. He must have found the black-haired petite Louise Damm to be just right. They became engaged, and he moved on, intending to marry her the moment he completed his journey 2 years hence. I have trouble imagining my stern, unsmiling grandmother as the attractive young woman she must have been when my grandfather proposed to her. She was certainly unusual, a single woman in her 30s, who as a very young girl had left her spiteful step-parents to make her own way in the city. She knew all the best families in town, for she ironed their fancy silk dresses, their lace underwear, and their damask table and bed linens to perfection. She immediately fancied Albin, the handsome journeyman cabinet maker who seemed ambitious and industrious, who was high-spirited, who made her laugh and took her dancing. She could see herself as the future master carpenter's wife, a member of the respectable middle class, with a household to run and her husband's business to be proud of. With peace in the land, they had a reasonable expectation of a prosperous future, in spite of their difference in age and divergent backgrounds. Hard work, thrift, and a God-fearing life would assure it. It has always saddened me to look at my grandparents' wedding picture, to see them looking so dead serious, but I put it down to the fashion of the times, not to a premonition they had of their future. The Pöhlmann family in Selb, meanwhile, was alarmed at the thought of their 24-year-old son's rash decision to marry this much older woman whom they had never met. But there was a bigger problem than my grandmother's age, a deep, dark family secret that I didn't learn until I was a teenager, namely that my mother, little Albine, was already 2 years old when her parents' wedding took place. According to my great-aunt in Wiesbaden, after the engagement and Albin's departure to continue his Wanderschaft, Louise found herself pregnant. She was too proud to tell him, afraid of hindering his progress, but she called the little girl Albine in his memory. When her fiancé returned 2 years later to make good on his promise of marriage, he found her with the little girl and quickly made her an honest woman. To the end of her life, my mother never revealed her feelings about what was then considered a shameful birth. I often wonder if even my father knew her secret. After the wedding, Albin found a carpentry job in the city of Mainz, just across the Rhine from Wiesbaden, and the young couple began to save for their future. They rented a tiny 2-room apartment in a labyrinthine apartment complex in the Rheingauer Straße, where families dwelled close together and shared a toilet down the hall. Small stores and workshops of locksmiths, antique restorers, clockmakers, and a glass and framing shop faced one another across the cobblestone courtyard, and the sound of clanking and hammering mingled with the shouts of trade, craft, and commerce filled the air. The smell of fried onions, sausages, and sauerkraut wafted from the windows above, signaling Mittagessen, the noon meal, and at the stroke of 12, the men locked up their shops and went upstairs to a set table and whatever the women could afford to cook that day. Most people were poor, yet, as my mother always emphasized, this was eine gute Gegend, a nice neighborhood. Small shops lined the Rheingauer Straße, and even latchkey children were fairly safe, much to the comfort of their working mothers. 4 years into my grandparents' marriage, in August 1914, World War I began, and soon my grandfather had to leave to fight for the Kaiser. My mother was 6 years old, and her baby brother Hans.